Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, a subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account and says, am I the arsehole for storming out of a restaurant and putting some friends in an awkward position? On mobile. I need to start off by saying that I, 19 male, have mild autism, and I was homeschooled. I have trouble navigating social situations, though I think I've gotten better since coming to college, which makes me think I might be a bit in the wrong here. Since coming to college, I got a group of friends and it's been fun, except they insist that I'm in love with our new friend, Mark, 20 male. He joined our group about a month ago. Me and Mark have a lot of things in common, so we bonded quickly. Because of that, our other friends said that we are in love and made for each other. It was a good laugh until they kept repeating it. They kept making claims that made it sound like I had feelings for him, and it got super weird. For instance, one day we were hanging out in Mark's dorm and I left when an emergency came up. In my rush, I left my charger. It got returned to me, but the others claimed I left it on purpose so I could leave a piece of me with him. Another time I was eating spaghetti and some of them said I was practicing to eat Mark's ass. What? Comments like this occur about 6 or 7 times a day. I have no idea where it's coming from. I'm not even gay. A week ago I asked Mark if he was uncomfortable with it as I am. He didn't know they said those things because they never said it to him. It's only been to me. I don't know why. I sent a message to our group chat. Guys, the comments you make about me and Mark are really making me uncomfortable, especially since I found out they've only been directed at me. Please stop. I don't find them funny or amusing. They apologized and said they wouldn't do it again. Friday, 6 of us, excluding Mark, went to dinner together. While we were waiting to order, Jada, 19 female, asked if I wanted to date Mark. I told her no and to drop that stuff since it makes me uncomfortable. She asked why I was so uncomfortable if it's not true. I told her that's exactly why. It's not true, but they keep talking like it is. She said it is true and she knows it's true. I could feel myself getting angry and didn't want to melt down, so I just left. Walked out and drove back to my dorm. I texted the group chat that I did not wish to be around Jada given what happened. Jada got mad and said I was letting a guy ruin our friendship and I didn't know how to take a joke. I ignored her messages and calls. All of our friends sided with me, but a few of them said it was putting them in an awkward position and I should let it go. I already stated that I'm not the best with social interactions, so I'm thinking maybe I am the arsehole. So I think you handled this pretty well, especially when you went ahead and you sent the text message saying this is making you uncomfortable and you set your boundaries with it, but then Jada decides that she's going to bring it up again. So she's the one who's ruining the friendship by keeping bringing this up. And it's like I ask myself with a lot of these situations, what is Jada bringing into your life? She just sounds like an absolute arsehole to me. Sure, friends joke around and sometimes give each other a bit of a ribbing. My friends do it as well, but if you tell them to stop on something specific, they will stop and respect that, not continue to do it. This is just simply the consequences of Jada's actions. But inconceivable, says not the arsehole, and you handled it very maturely. You brought it up to the group first. You made your feelings clear. When someone violated that boundary, you removed yourself rather than cause a scene in front of everyone. You have set a firmer boundary that you do not want to be around someone who's clearly ignoring the first boundary. If Jada is having issues, it is because of her own actions. Hope he responds and says thank you. I have meltdowns when I get angry and upset, and I've been trying to manage them better. I didn't know if leaving was a mature thing or not, since I'm not the best socially. You say what now, says not the arsehole. This is definitely not about you missing social cues, I promise you. If any of the group of friends try and tell you that, please don't believe them. It's weird that they've got fixated on this idea of you having a romantic or sexual attraction to Mark, and even weirder that they only tease you about it and not him. But given their frequency of bringing this up and then Jada continuing after you made it very politely but explicitly clear that it makes you uncomfortable and to stop, they're being arseholes. Her especially. A joke is not a joke when the butt of the joke is not only unamused but also hurt by it. That's just bullying. Milo and Giggle says not the arsehole. You explained several times that this bothers you. Natural friends would have stopped way before that, but decent people should have stopped at this point the latest. Saying you are ruining a friendship over a guy makes it clear that she still tries to make fun of you and is not taking your feelings and opinions seriously. Also, why is that even funny? Honestly, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but for me it's verging on homophobia because it has a feeling of it's funny because they're both guys and that means they'd never actually do that. If you think that someone might actually get together, you wouldn't use it to make jokes because you'd be more or less just be stating facts. I don't know, might be way off base here, but I'm still 100% sure that Jada sucks. Unmake Me says, if somebody claimed I was practicing to eat anyone's ass while eating, I would literally spit my food on them. Maybe it's because I'm not into that, but that's disgusting to say when someone is eating. What the fuck? And Jada is way out of line with her BS. Even if she were right, trying to forcibly out a guy just because you know they have a crush on a friend and want them to admit it is extremely shitty. But it's not even true. And you made your boundaries clear beforehand, and she violated them. Not the arsehole. Your friends may be in an awkward position, but it was Jada that put them there, not you. So then OP kindly updates the post and says, there are a lot of comments. I didn't respond to all of them, but I did read most and think about the situation. First thing I did was talk to Mark. He assured me that my behavior never seemed flirtatious or inappropriate. I told him I'm going to cut off the rest of them. He told me he would do the same, but I told him not to. I appreciate the support, but I'm the one having the issue. I didn't speak to anyone from that group except for Mark for a couple of weeks. I've been meeting new people and it's going fine. Then a few days later, some came by my room and wanted to talk to me. To my surprise, it was the 4 people: Chris, Emma, Ty, and Mika, who I wasn't as close with as the others. We started talking and the first thing they did was apologize for the situation and for making me uncomfortable. I asked them one of my biggest things I was curious about. Why were the comments directed at only me? Here's what I learned. Jada told them she talked to me and they could make comments to me and I'd be okay with it. But said she talked to Mark and he said he would be uncomfortable. I didn't believe this until they showed me the messages. I never told Jada this and I doubt she talked to Mark, so she lied. And that's when it started. I was still confused on why she would make them in the first place. I, Mika, and Chris didn't know, but Emma showed me her messages with Jada. For the person who asked if Jada has a crush on Mark, you are incorrect. Jada has a crush on me. For the past 4 months, even though I'm not best socially, once I saw the messages, I'm pretty sure she was jealous of Mark and was trying to make me uncomfortable around him. The other 3 saw messages and thought the same thing. So she was jealous. Nobody aside from Emma knew this though. They just joined in because they thought it would be funny. I asked why is me being uncomfortable a joke or funny? They didn't have a response. I told them what a lot of people told me in their replies, how it was bullying and homophobic to make such remarks and disguising them as jokes is just an excuse. I acknowledged that I should have said something sooner, but it also should have never gotten to that point. They again apologized and asked if I could forgive them. Truthfully, I've already gotten past the situation and moved on. Ultimately, I did decide to give these 4 a second chance. The fact they came to talk, apologize, explain, and weren't on the defensive or dismissive when I was explaining how I felt or what made them wrong. I think that's a good sign. It will take a bit longer to fully regain my trust, but haven't had any issues since then. Well, that all seriously backfired on Jada, but OP handled this extremely well, I think, in this situation. And I'm glad the friends did come out to seek out OP to apologize as well. Of course, like OP said, it might take a bit longer to fully regain his trust again, but I think the way he's handled it so far is pretty damn good. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story is titled, Am I the Arsehole for Escalating Co-Workers' Behavior at Work to HR? I work in a place where we get a 2% commission fee on eyeglass sales. I just started here a couple of months ago. One co-worker in particular has flat out told me she doesn't like me, hasn't since day one, and has even said there is no reason for it. But that's how it is, so stay the fuck away from her. If I so much as accidentally get too close to her, cramped areas such as around register, she snaps at me. On a few occasions, customers have come and asked me if I could help them, so I did. She then yelled at me in front of customers for stealing her sale. She thinks that because she says hello to someone as soon as they walk in the store, it makes them her customer. Coworker number 2 hollered at me for 5 minutes straight the other day because her customer returned a pair he bought but didn't like on her day off and purchased a different pair, and I put the sale in my name, per my manager's instructions. She yelled that was fucked up, and after I told her our manager told me to ring it up in my name, she said that was bullshit and I shouldn't have listened to her, but rang it up in her name. She was stomping her feet, cursing at me, hollering, you name it. These two have caused others to quit before by acting this way. I was hired because I have over 20 years experience in the optical field and I'm good at my job. My husband thinks they are threatened by me. I'll be damned if I let them run me off. My manager feels like she's talked to them repeatedly about their behavior and it hasn't changed over the years, so there isn't much more to be done. I escalated the matter to her boss, who has now told me he is fed up with their shit, and we have a conference call with him, my manager, and HR tomorrow. Am I the arsehole for escalating this? My manager says I need to have thicker skin and just accept that they are screamers and strong-willed individuals. As a previous manager and business owner before, that I can say without a doubt that I feel her response is bullshit, and I would have fired them ages ago. Thoughts? Absolutely, their behavior is bullshit and needs to be called up immediately. I think you're dealing with it in the best way possible, like you're being professional and respectful in the way that's needed in a workplace. And totally based off what you've described here, your manager is unable or unwilling to address anything effectively. And let's look at it. If you was just to let this carry on, you're just going to be carrying on working in a toxic environment, which is going to impact you negatively in some way, and constantly being shouted at, abused is bullshit. So absolutely escalating this is the correct thing to do in my opinion. Boogie says, not the arsehole. Their behavior is intolerable and the manager is incompetent. Their fears should become reality. The two of them fired, along with the manager, and you put in charge. Opie responds in, my husband said the same thing, lol. The thing is, I like the company and love our customers, but I'm 51 years old and just want to settle down someplace, and the thought of 10 years of this is unbearable. I've actually had another company reach out to me, and I interviewed with them last week and was offered the job. The problem is they don't pay as well and I need the money. They haven't sent me an official offer letter yet, but told me today it was coming. But I'm hoping there is wiggle room with regards to the pay, so I have another option if I need it. NV Man says, your co-workers have yelled, cursed, snapped, berated, threatened and fussed because you obeyed manager. You are not the arsehole. The managers are allowing this intolerable environment to continue. Go into the phone conference with notes, instances and dates, and water handy. Practice telling stories so that your voice won't crack and you don't get teary. It's HR's job to ensure you do not have a hostile workplace. Be sure to add things are said in presence of customers and that it reflects poorly on the company and likely causes loss of business. OP says the water is a good idea. I actually broke down in tears when the one co-worker yelled at me for 5 minutes. I just walked in the store and hadn't even put my stuff down before she started her tantrum. I managed to record the last minute of it, allowed by law since I was aware it was being recorded. She was about 50% calmer by then as far as her yelling, but she still was stating it was bullshit, saying things like, why did you do me like that? And when I once again calmly stated I was doing what my boss told me to do, she replied I shouldn't have listened to her. ETA, when she saw me crying, she nicely told me I needed to grow a thicker skin and not to get offended because everyone knows she hollers, but doesn't mean anything by it. She wanted to give me a hug and I told her to back off and give me some space. OP continues a little bit more to explain the co-workers and says, at the first staff meeting I attended, she was screaming at our manager at the top of her lungs, stomping around, threatening that she was going to start looking for another job. And then the other one joined in and started screaming and yelling. I asked them to please just calm down and stop yelling and they pretty much told me to fuck off. At the end of the meeting, my manager told me that this was how they were and it was best to just let them blow off steam. I was absolutely shocked. If I'd been the manager, I would have told them not to bother coming back the next day. I fired people for less. Then at our meeting a couple of weeks ago, their behavior was supposed to be addressed specifically. Again, I know this because our boss took my manager and I out for coffee to discuss this, and as I said earlier, he expressed that he was tired of losing good employees to these two, and that this was supposed to be the focus of our next meeting. She basically made a generic comment that was like, play nice. Then one of the girls again started talking about how I piss her off and how great it is and how much fun they have when I'm off. My manager said nothing except as we were leaving later, she said she was proud of me for not engaging her when she was being an ass and that everyone saw I was the bigger person there. Seriously. And one more comment from Boredom, who says not the arsehole. They are losing money by hiring employees who end up quitting or having customers turning away to find better service. If I was a customer witnessing this attitude, it would make me question returning to the store. Your manager may be fine with this situation, but I highly doubt any higher ups are. What happens if they snap at a customer and they file a complaint? If they haven't already and the manager is just sweeping everything away, it seems. This is what HR is for. They need to seriously consider if this is a toxic work environment, which it is. But then OP kindly updates the post and they said we had a conference call with my manager, her boss and HR. They asked me what my perspective was as to what is going on, and I said there is an extremely unprofessional culture in the store that ultimately will only hurt the store and prevent it from growing business-wise like it should. They asked me specifically what I had experienced, and I told them about the behaviors, pettiness, how territorial they were, and how that could only become a negative in the grand scheme of things. I told them how I've been hollered at, cursed at, told to shut up, you name it. I said I just can't see me coming into work for the next 10 plus years with this environment. My manager verified everything I said and said the behavior continues despite her calling them out on it, which she has, and they yelled back at her. I mentioned to HR what their response was and how shocked I was that they felt entitled enough to speak so disrespectfully to their boss that way. HR apologized for the fact that I have had to deal with such poor behavior. She said that is not acceptable on any level and no one should feel like they are walking on eggshells like I am. She asked if this behavior transpired in front of patients and I verified that it has. They asked me to put some ideas together on what can be done to rectify the situation and send it to them in an email, and that they would do everything they could to make sure this is stopped. I then got off the call while they continued to talk. My manager came in and gave me a big hug and said she appreciates me and that she doesn't want me to leave. She is actually a very nice and sincere person, just sucks at conflict resolution. She said she was frustrated because HR asked her why it got this far before they heard about it, because she has been telling her boss for ages about it and just told him the other day it was getting worse. Yet it took for me to reach out to get the conversation going with HR. In the email I said there should be a system implemented where when someone is out of line, they get a verbal warning that is actually written up and signed by the employee and manager. After 2 verbals, it becomes a written notice that goes to HR for review. I then said policies need to be implemented that everyone follows, and I listed about 8 or 9 things that currently are issues and how to deal with them, such as rotating patients with employees as they come in, so no one monopolizes all the sales, and clear guidelines for returns, and that everyone needs to do repairs and dispensing and employees can no longer pass that off to others so they can be ready to catch the next sale. I showed it to my manager and she loved it. I then signed it and sent it off to HR and her boss. We're going to have a meeting this weekend where we'll go over all of this and everyone will need to sign off on all the policies, including acknowledging the verbal/written notice system. So I feel better knowing HR was respectful of what I had to say and took it seriously that my manager was on board with everything. Thank you all so much for your kind responses. They really helped me feel confident this morning and empowered for this call. You are all amazing, kind souls and really helped lift my spirits. And OP added one more little snippet of an update that said that HR told my manager to hold off on the meeting this weekend as they want to have either my manager's boss or someone from HR there too. No doubt to make sure my co-workers don't pull their usual bullshit. I just found that what a bizarre company is that they're getting you basically to write up rules and policies and stuff like that about how to deal with commissions, etc., and it hasn't been thought up before, and asking you to put some ideas together on what can be done to rectify the situation. It's like, you fucking deal with the situation. You've got 2 employees that's running riot, absolutely causing havoc everywhere, abusing employees. They should just be sacked. I can't imagine any workplace that I've ever been to, even the shittiest one, that will let anyone get away with that kind of behavior. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. Have you ever been in this sort of hostile work environment before? How did you deal with it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And we'll get one more story before we finish up from Darling Dear, who says, am I the arsehole for cooking food while my roommate's girlfriend was here and offering her some? I am 21 male and I'm from the South. I grew up in New Orleans in Texas. My mum runs a catering business and the majority of clients were either at home in Louisiana or in Texas. I had this to say that I grew up cooking and helping my mum cook for the business. I was frying chicken and catfish when I could reach the stove, and making gumbo and buttermilk biscuits at very young. I'm currently in culinary school right now. I've lived in a rented house on the East Coast with my roommate, 22 male, for a year and a half. He's not a friend or anything, we just linked up because we both needed roommates in this area. He's good to live with and we watch shows and movies together. We hang out and go for drinks sometimes. I always make friends easy because of being from the South and doing customer service related things since I was a kid. I know how to talk and charm and listen to folk despite being naturally more in the introverted spectrum. My roommate has been seeing his girlfriend for like 6 months. I've met her before and seen her in passing. Roommate and his girlfriend had a 2-week break from school things. She still lives at her parents', so she decided to stay here the whole 2 weeks. I was just doing things as I would normally do. It got weird at first when I was about to go mow the lawn and the roommate stopped me and said he wanted to mow. I usually always mow. A couple of days later, I was outside washing my car. I asked both of them if they wanted me to do theirs. She looked like she was going to agree, but he looked at her angrily, so they declined. I cook pretty frequently at home as well and usually let my roommate have some. So anytime I'd make some, I would say that they could have some and this would get him pissed. Weeks prior when she was here and we were all talking, she mentioned this specific kind of cheesecake that she really liked, so I made and sent out a group text to everyone that could have it. My roommate got upset. I don't see anything as overstepping a boundary, as this is how I treat him and all guests. The other day he told me how annoying it was to hear his girlfriend talk about how good your roommate's fresh baked bread is. I'm not trying to make him look bad or anything, this is simply how I was raised. If I bake 2 loaves of bread, I'm gonna leave it out for the house to eat. Edit. The cheesecake is just common courtesy type of thing to me. When his parents come over, I make pound cake because they like it. If a guest is coming over, you get/make what they like. Nothing odd about picking up their favorite chips or making some tea when guests arrive. Just how I was raised. Wow, and this is blown up. Just want to say, we generally have a good roommate relationship. We're not best friends, but it's friendly enough. The only change has been when his girlfriend is here, so lol. No, I'm not looking for new roommates to be adopted or to move out, but thanks. Damn it, here is some more things that upset him. I went to the grocery store and asked if anyone needed anything. I was frying chicken and offered the first/best pieces out the oil to them. I changed the oil to my own car. I used a smoker in the backyard to make brisket. I grill and smoke in the backyard and needed a piece of wood cut into a certain way to hold something up. I cut and nailed some wood together in the garage. Feels like I can't exist while she is here. And final edit. I tend to see the good and best in people, so I was not seeing him as being very insecure and was trying to look at this in a more positive light. But he just texted me and said that I greet his girlfriend in too kind of way, and it's annoying that I say be safe when she leaves the house. I say this to him and everyone when they tell me they're going somewhere. He sent me a long text detailing it's bad that I look her in the eyes when she's talking to me. Maybe it's time for a new roommate. Now we're going to cover the comments in a second, but Opie has got me massively hungry right now. Chicken, smoked meats, wee. Mel says, not the arsehole. You're raising a bar he doesn't want raised by getting things done. He doesn't want to pretend he is a better partner than he is. He also doesn't want you to highlight things he isn't interested in doing. In a way, you are unintentionally showing that he isn't the best partner material around. Keep doing things as you are. He's being ridiculous. Mental says, so he's okay with you feeding him, but has a problem when you offer to feed his girlfriend who just happens to be in the house. It's not like you only cook when she's there. Why? He's afraid you're going to steal her with food? Is he afraid she's only hanging out with him because of you feed her? Ask Roomie what the problem is and then stop doing what he doesn't like. If that means not feeding her, then stop feeding him too. You sound like a great roomie. You mow and offer to wash their cars. Who does that? You're like Southern hospitality on steroids. Oh no, it sounds absolutely amazing. I think I've fallen in love. Cheesecake, smoked meats, fried chicken. Oh. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. The comments pretty much just went on about this guy's insecurity, but you know, texting the guy and saying, don't look my girlfriend in the eyes. That is some weird ass behavior. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us today, getting involved in the stories, showing not just your love towards me, but towards one another as well in the comments. I always find that absolutely amazing, and it hugely makes my day to see it. So thank you so much for being amazing. Keep being amazing, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.